guys, welcome to Coffee Time. I've got two beautiful ladies in the studio today. We've got Sadhna and Beatrice. These two beautiful women have written a book and they will explain you what the book is all about. Hi guys, how are you?
Very well. Thank you for having us.
Hi, my pleasure. For you guys to come into our show, that was really great. So tell me about your book. Anyone can start. So you've written a book which has food, yummy recipes.
Yes, I've written a recipe book with stories and recipes from my family in Fiji. My family is predominantly vegetarian, so the recipe book is all vegetarian recipes, and I basically was inspired by my friend Beatrice to write the book, and Beatrice actually gave me the courage and the faith to believe in myself to take on this quest to write.
Of course, and Beatrice, you've written a book where it is an inspirational women?
So the book is called The Secret Diaries of Inspirational Women, and I was myself looking for inspiration in my life, so I wrote this book and I interviewed these amazing Australian women from all walks of life.
Yes.
I too have a passion for food, and my book journey took me to speaking on stage and also running workshops to teach people how to actually create their own books. You know, I just think that everybody's got a book in them and everybody's got a great life purpose, and I saw that in Sadhna. So actually I think Sadhna came to my first workshop. She was actually helping me to set it up, and I said to her, why don't you join? And she went, no. And I said, what are you going to write about? She went, no, nothing. And you know, so it was the beginning of a journey, and it was bubbling along, and so yeah, it's just been a beautiful journey, and I'm just so proud to kind of be sitting next to you, Sadie, to kind of share your moment of glory.
There was many false starts from that that very first day that we spoke about the possibility of me writing. Lots of false starts, but eventually I found the courage to write and create.
So is it in you to write books, or it just happened because you've been to her seminars or workshop?
There was always this thought in the back of my mind that I would like to write a book. And I always wanted to write a recipe book because I love food, I love cooking, and my mum has always cooked, and she loves creating recipes and stuff. So there was always this thought in the back of my mind that I actually wanted to write a recipe book. And also because from Fiji, there are no recipe books that actually document the recipes of our ancestors.
I haven't seen any.
So it was always something there, but it was always more like a fantasy, and had it not been for this beautiful lady, I don't.
That's right, and her book I think inspired you to bring that lady out in light and then start writing the book. So what made you write this book? Like, was it because you were trying to find yourself, that's why you wrote this book, or?
That's a very good question. So for me, so I'd been in the corporate world for about almost 20 years, and I came to a junction in my life where I found myself being a single mum in this amazing job. Looking from the outside, it looked really fantastic.
Yep.
Had a great career, was on a plane every week flying, had this beautiful son. And the opposite side of that is I was single, I was sick, and I actually sort of stopped at one point and I asked myself, what am I doing this all for? And I actually came to a point where I stopped working and I took a 3-month sabbatical, and I actually really went deep to find out what it was. And what kept coming up for me is I just love to write, and in particular I'm really passionate about people. Like, I love discovering inspirational stories about the ordinary. Like, everybody's got a great story, so I really wanted to write about that. And I met a publisher and he said to me, well, it's your first book, so why don't you interview a whole lot of famous people? And I went, well, I don't really want to do that. I want to know about the ordinary man and the ordinary woman in the street. But I did take his advice, and I spent probably about 6 months researching who I would and what I did something a little bit unusual. I actually decided to write a letter to about 20 women that really inspired me. Women from all walks of life, from business, from sport.
How did you find them?
Well, I tell you what, the internet's an amazing thing. So I didn't have any contacts, that was the thing, but I was so determined to really find those women. I just thought, you know, like I actually poured every part of me into it, and I literally wrote them a letter. And I did a research on them, and each of the women that I ended up picking had something that they and I shared identically. So, you know, it could have been we were born on the same day, we were, you know, same age.
Wow.
You know, one of the women I interviewed in my first book was Maggie Beer. I'm bringing, you know, Maggie, you know, of course, you know, Australian goddess of the kitchen. And Maggie discovered her passion very late in life. She was 35 when she decided, she picked a peach in the Barossa Valley, and then she said, you know, I want to work in food. So for me too, writing was something that came very late in life, you know. So I basically wrote about 20 letters, actually a bit more, probably about 30 letters. And within a matter of about a month to about 6 weeks, I ended up having, as you remember, I ended up having, let me think, 14 of these incredible Australians come back to me and said,
Wow, that's a great number.
You know, I'm so pleased you've asked it now, because now I would say no.
Good. How? My question would be how?
Well, if you'd asked me that question then, I probably would have answered, yep, you know, without the distractions. Yes, I was a mum, but I actually now really, really believe with every fibre of my body that it doesn't really matter who's around you. You know, where you have to get really comfortable is the you that you are in the world. Often I think as women, I mean, I you know, hopefully you won't take that the wrong way.
No.
But often as women, like I guess in a way, I'm contemporary, but I'm also quite traditional. You know, I do, you know, really believe in, you know, marriage and a whole lot of different things. But I think it always starts here and it always ends here. You know, like it always starts here, and it's actually about really getting present to who you are in the world and just loving yourself. You know, like I think for a long period of time people said, you know, don't love yourself, it's all, you know, big-headed and all of this, but I think you really have to really be in love with who you are and what you want to put in the world, and from that anything can be created.
I think it also makes a difference when you have someone in your life that believes in you.
Yeah.
And for me, like with Daryl, my husband, you know, prior to him being in my life, I was a woman that didn't believe a lot in myself. And then, you know, Daryl believing in me and having friends as well. Like, you know, Beatrice could see the potential and the capabilities in my abilities, and just, you know, I think somebody nurturing that, not necessarily grooming you, but just telling you and letting you, I think giving you the space to live your dream.
Yeah.
Having that person in your life that lets you live your dream is very important.
Yeah. I think you've got a key there. I often say to some of my friends, like, we all need one or two magical friends in our lives. I think every woman needs a magical friend.
Of course they do, yes.
Right? That really, really believes in you and really sees the potential in you when you can't see it yourself. So I think if we can surround ourselves with those people, then I think anything that you want to do, anything, doesn't matter how outrageous it is, happens.
I think I've got a few people. I've got this all this stuff. Yeah. So, what inspired you to write this book? I know you said your mother, and is it the culture?
I would say my son was a big inspiration for me to write the book. I wanted to leave something for him. I wanted to leave a legacy, and I think just the thought that, you know, my great-grandparents, like all the children of Fiji, like our great-grandparents who came from India, they left so much of themselves behind. And one of the big things that they left behind was the food. You know, the food, like I say in my book, that the flavours and tastes of our food in Fiji speak they speak the language of our mother tongue. You know, they speak Hindi to us, but it has its own dialect. And, you know, I actually wanted to preserve that because I think, and that kind of inspired me as well along the way. And my son was born here and grew up here, and then he decided to go and live in Fiji, and I wanted him to have that connection.
So your son is in Fiji right
He's
now?
in Fiji
Wow.
right now, yeah. So I actually wanted him to have that connection with what my great-grandfathers did for Fiji. And so the recipe book is basically...
Show us the recipe book so our audience can get to see this.
So if I may give that to you, so that is
So this is the book she has written. Have you been to Fiji to launch this book, or was it launched here?
It was launched in Melbourne. It was launched at a fabulous Indian restaurant in Albert Park called Arta. And the chefs were absolutely brilliant. They created a lot of stuff from the book.
It was delicious.
It was just all delicious. And if you haven't been to Arta, please go.
No.
It's not an Indian restaurant. It's only been open a couple of months.
Where is it?
Albert Park.
Albert Park. Okay. And what day did you launch this book?
On the 28th of November.
So just very recently. So I guess people from Fiji or all over the world can look for this book. There's so many recipes in here. I guarantee you will love it. So are you planning to go to Fiji to launch this book? Because
I am. I would like to go to Fiji because all the profits from the book are going to WOW's Kids Foundation in Fiji, which is the Children's Cancer Foundation of Fiji. So yes, I would love to go to Fiji and do something in Fiji. But,
that's a really good cause that you're doing. Yep. So is there any plans like this year, next year, or are you still deciding, working on it?
I would love to go next year.
Next year?
It all depends on what happens with the cyclone season.
Oh, it is
because
too.
We are in the cyclone season now for Fiji, so...
Well, that saves me from going to Fiji then. I was meant to go there. That's right. So I've read just a little bit of it, like pakoras and stuff like that. I'm from Fiji, so we normally don't call bhajia pakoras. So did you do your research, like what we do pakora and stuff like that? Like, or did you just do the research in Melbourne to see if we can, you know how with Fiji foods are a little bit different, but when you are, but when you're sitting with a whole group of other like Indian nationality, you can pick out like, oh, this is what they call pakoras, this is what we call bhajia.
And it's the same, by the way, in Mauritius, different island. I'm from Mauritius, on the other side of the Indian Ocean, obviously.
Yep.
But there's a lot of food in there that we make in Mauritius, but we have completely different names. Actually, French names for the same thing. So.
Exactly,
Nice. Yeah, that's the only thing that I saw pakoras here. I'm like, okay.
well, pakoras are very different to bhajias.
Is it?
So very, very different.
Do we do pakoras in Fiji?
We do. So, you know, when we call it like
What do you call it?
dal or chips or cassava chips or, you know, I don't know if you've ever had that. Or breadfruit chips where you dip it in the bhajia batter. To me, that is a pakora.
Okay.
And bhajia, what we call bhajia, is with bhaji, basically.
I normally thought the pakora and bhajias were together. They were like...
That's my difference.
Yeah. It could be, Now I get to your point, like, we do dip it in the sauce and then we just fry it. I'm pretty sure pakoras are from potato and onions and other stuff in it. Yes. I've got an Indian husband, that's why, you know, my in-laws make it. So yes, going back to you, tell us, obviously you spoke about inspirational, and what exactly do you have in your book? Like, obviously, how do you inspire?
Well, the book is actually a series of interviews, one-on-one, face-to-face, a bit like this, with these incredible women. And I guess, you know, like the title of the book, The Secret Diaries, I wanted to find out from them, you know, what kind of made them tick, you know, how did they discover their passion, how did they overcome, you know, whatever trauma, you know, led, because often, you know, there were themes. What I discovered towards the end of the book is that there were probably half a dozen really, really strong themes through each of the women, irrespective of what happened before, as to what got them to be who they were today. So the book really is about them openly and vulnerably sharing You know, not just, hey, I'm famous now, but really, you know, kind of really getting to the woman behind the name. You know, that they're no different to you and I. Which I think a lot of the times, you know, with social media and television, and we kind of look at these beautiful women that have seemed to have it all and forget that, you know, that they're just no different to us. You know,
they worked hard for it.
Next door, they work hard, they've probably got a couple of jobs going. And I think that makes it a lot more real, you know, for others to kind of step up, to kind of say, well, I can do that. You know, I can actually do this too. You know, I may have this little passion and I can do it. You know, she started at 35, or, you know, she's doing it because, you know, for whatever reason, you know, she's a single mum, you know, so yeah, there's lots of little gems and little jewels in there. And through the book, so it's a series of interviews, and there's also some great little quotes as well that you can, it's a sort of book that you don't have to start from A to Z. You could pretty much open it up and something will just come at you.
Wow.
You know, so it's more like that.
That's right. And when did you launch this book? I remember you guys telling me you guys are friends, and that's where you started?
My journey started 5 years ago.
Okay.
And the book was really the catalyst to then really shifting everything in my life. You know, prior to that, you know, I was, you know, I'm still a mum, and, you know, I had this corporate job, but I basically gave me the ability to kind of stop it. And I started to speak on stage, you know, inspiring other women. Then it allowed me to co-start a charity with one of the women in my book, which was called Global Gardens of Peace, building peace gardens in post-war countries. The first one that I worked on as the chair for the charity was in the Gaza Strip. You know, that then led me to meet my future husband, and we created an amazing outdoor expedition leadership program, taking Indigenous kids to Antarctica. So we ran a year-long expedition, and, you know, we sponsored and we took 6 Indigenous young kids to Antarctica with 20 mentors. So it kind of went a bit nuts, didn't it, Sadhna? You know, like, I had no plans. For me, I really wanted to write because I love to write. Like, I love the written word and the spoken word. But it kind of took me in so many different directions. And you know, and then earlier this year, one of the things that really came strongly for me over the last few years was gratitude. You touched on it before.
Yeah.
So to really get grateful for what you have. You know, like, we often look at the glass half empty as opposed to half full. So I really got present to all the opportunities that came to me because I said yes. You know, we were talking about this on the way here. You know, what's going to happen for you over the next 5 years? You know, so it opened the doors to a lot of different opportunities. And for me currently, it's about, I really want to create a huge global gratitude movement because I think we don't have enough gratitude in the world. And so earlier this year I launched a community project called A Spoonful of Gratitude because I think a little can go a long way. And again, I've had a love of food. My first job ever was as a cook, so I too have a love of food. Not as amazing as she is, but I can put on a pretty good feast. So Spoonful of Gratitude in essence is bringing people together from all walks of lives. And what best way to do it is to do it through food.
Wow.
So I've engaged people, like in May when we launched it in Brunswick, people came with a special dish. I asked them, if you were to cook a dish, that's the final meal that you cook for the rest of your life for your family and your loved ones, what would it be? So I asked them to bring that dish, but also the story with it. So I'm gathering stories and recipes from all of those people at the moment, and that's going to actually become a cookbook.
Wow.
Which I'm co-writing with a chef that helped me create the, her name's Emma. And so it's going to be called A Spoonful of Gratitude. And whilst we're together, you know, we're raising money. So all of the money is going to a charity in Broome called Feed the Little Children, basically feeding Indigenous kids in Broome who, you know, even as tonight may not have enough food. And this is happening in our country.
Wow.
So that's kind
amazing
of my
job.
current journey.
Amazing. It's very inspirational. Seriously. Hats off to you both. The job that you're doing, you need a long, like, you know, really good-hearted people to come up and do all those things that you guys are doing. So are we expecting any, I mean, obviously this is another book coming up.
Yes.
When are we going to see that?
probably towards the end of next year or early 2019. So the gathering of the stories. I used to love rushing things, but I've learned,
to slow it down.
Good. No, the simmering is good. The slow cooking process is actually really good. So, so probably towards the end of 2018, early 2019.
Nice. How traditional is your recipes?
Well, I've tried to be as authentic as possible. Because it is an ode to our ancestors, so it is ancestral recipes. Nothing's been changed in it. So the recipes, as you find it in the book, is something that my grandmother would have cooked or mum would have cooked in Fiji, as my family have cooked for generations. So it's not been changed, or there's no elements of Western or fusion or anything. It is as authentic as you will get.
Okay.
The real meaning of traditional.
Very, very traditional, yeah. And to me that was very, very important, to keep it very true and traditional, especially because there is no documentation, and this is what I would call the first real documentation of Indian food in Fiji, and this is just the start of the journey for me. Yes. I've got a couple of other books planned, because at the end of the next 5 years, 8 years, I would like to have a record of as many Indian recipes in Fiji as possible, so that there's a record of it.
So you plan to travel and then look into more, village type of foods and...
Absolutely, there will be a lot of travel involved, because I do go to Fiji quite often, but also I'm looking for contributions from people. So they could be based anywhere. They could be based here in Melbourne, they could be based in America or Canada, but the key element is that it's got to be, as it's cooked in Fiji, and it's got to be authentic. So no elements of fusion in the recipes. And
so can they just send you recipes, and then how does it work? For example, if you can't travel to Canada, right, to look into Fijians, what they do, so do you recommend them to send you recipes and you can I
would love to, that would be the beginning, yes. I would love for them to actually send their recipes or start a dialogue, and they can do that via my website.
It's a good idea.
But I think eventually I would, need to travel to meet them, so that we can include a story about them, and also photos, and photo with a dish that they've contributed in the book.
True. And where can we find your book?
At the moment, because this has just been launched on my website, which
is this my copy? No.
www.thetropicalindian.com.
Okay.
And I think I was very short-sighted. We did have this conversation before I had the print run done for my books, and I unfortunately only got 800 copies printed.
Of which they'd be gone like that.
Of which,
of course,
within 12 days of my book launch, half of it's already sold.
Oh my God! So it's about 400.
Yeah, and I represented Fiji in the World Cookbook Competition, and I have won 3 categories. So I'm hoping that the other balance of the books will sell. So
I think you need to share, because I was so excited for it.
I'll definitely put this on my Facebook. I've got Fiji people on my Facebook in there.
Yeah. So you should share what your awards were.
So my awards was Best Indian, Best Vegetarian, and Best Charity Cookbook for 2017. So 3 awards.
Congrats.
Through the Gourmand Association in France, which has been such a big honour.
Wow, amazing.
So you went to France?
No,
it was here.
The awards, I've just been notified that I have won 3 of their categories, representing Fiji, and the awards are going to be in May in China.
Oh my God, so you'll be traveling to China. Congrats.
Yeah.
That is a huge success. Definitely. Seriously, that is. If someone sends you a recipe, how do you differentiate between if it's authentic Fijian recipe compared to the other?
Well, I think I grew up in Fiji. I have a fair knowledge of Indian food in Fiji. And, I'm blessed that I'm surrounded by really, really good cooks. You know, my mums, my aunties, my great aunts who are still alive. So I have all of those resources that I will be using to authenticate. It's just that, you know, I already have 45 recipes written for the second book, which is going to be non-veg.
Yeah.
But I actually wanted to be a book for the people of Fiji, which is why I'm actually inviting people to contribute. I think that I would say that with my knowledge of food
And using your resources.
and using my resources is a great advantage.
It is, yes. Anything you want to talk about your book that I haven't covered that you want to cover?
I suppose the charity, you know, we'll talk about the charity a bit more. Wild Kids, Fiji, and I'd love to tell the story of how I got involved with the charity.
Yeah.
I guess probably the only thing is I'm developing an online program currently to really help others discover their life purpose and putting it to, so that's kind of my next step next year. So maybe just something around.
How would you differentiate between Fijian Indian cuisine compared to Indian cuisine?
That's a very interesting question. Fiji Indian food is very different. Like, you know, our ancestors went to Fiji as indentured labourers, and they were thousands of miles away from home with very limited spices, and, you know, a lot of it was just whatever spices that they had carried with them to Fiji. So I would say that the Indian food in Fiji is a lot simpler. It doesn't have as many spices. Like, for example, you know, we could cook the same curry in Fiji that is cooked in India, like curry, for example. But our curries are so much more simpler with so many less ingredients than it is done in India. So, and because of the socio-economic climate in Fiji, I mean, Fiji was a third world country, it still is a third world country. Luxuries like cooking with ghee, cooking everything with ghee was not possible. You know, adding honey to dishes was not possible. So the food is much more simpler, organic and cleaner in a lot of ways, if you like, but still very, very flavourful. So we predominantly use, the Holy Trinity would be chili, garlic, onion, or garlic, chili and ginger would be the Holy Trinity basic. And the spices predominantly used in Fiji would be cumin and mustard and fenugreek, and you know, that's as simple as it gets, but yet creating the same dish that you would have in India, but a very much more simplified version of it.
Agreed. I've got another question for you. Now, is this recipe targeted on Indians living in Fiji or the actual Fijians in the island as well? Like, do you have cassava or anything included in this recipe yet?
There's a lot of, like, you know, cassava, dalo, breadfruit, pawpaw, green pawpaw curry, which is all using stuff that we get in Fiji. And it is, you know, the thing with the book is I believe that Fiji is known globally for its beaches and its sand and the resorts and, you know, rugby. These are the big things that Fiji is known for.
And the hospitality.
But the hospitality, the smiling of people, I mean, that's huge. That's what Fiji is recognised for. But I really truly believe that Fiji needs to be recognised for its culinary treasure trove that it is. I mean, the food is just so simple, so organic, so beautiful, and just so delicious that you don't need to be from Fiji to appreciate the book or to appreciate the food. And I hope that through this book, as people get to know about the book and they try cooking the dishes, that when they do go to Fiji and they're staying at resorts, that they will actually ask for the chefs to create one of the dishes
Yes.
from the book.
Of course, yes, definitely. Now let's talk about the WOW Kids that you're working with.
Yeah.
So tell us more about this organization.
WOW's Kids is a registered Children's Cancer Foundation in Fiji. WOW's meaning Walk On, Walk Strong, which was the title of the song that 15-year-old Thai Kami left as her legacy
It's on
before
the
she passed away with cancer. And she requested for her mum and dad and her sister not to mourn her for a lengthy period of time, but to actually do something in her honour so that other children of Fiji who are in similar circumstances, you know, didn't have to go through what she went through. So, you know, the charity organisation pays for children for medical, pays for transportation to come for chemotherapy, basically, you know, sets them up with cancer kits so that they can have a easier transition through chemotherapy. And ultimately, if we can build a children's cancer hospital in Fiji, that would be
amazing.
amazing, yeah.
That's right. And do you have anything to say? Moreover, what you're doing? Is there anything else you're doing?
Well, we mentioned before that I'm gathering the stories for a spoonful of gratitude. So I am currently working on really looking at how to create a gratitude movement. Really get in touch with their life purpose. You know what what it's all about, and providing some tools and some guidance and some inspiration, and also a community of trust that we create together, that they can go out in the world and actually create whatever their purpose is, but just, you know, refining those tools that they can actually apply every day in their lives, so that they actually can create what they want to create. Because I think everybody deserves to have that opportunity. So stay tuned.
I will definitely. I'm tuned. So ladies, that was really inspiring stories that you have there, and amazing work that you're doing. So thank you so much for coming to our show and sharing these amazing stories with us. And I'm sure audience over there will be following you as well, and I'm definitely going to follow both of you. Just don't forget to send me a book as well, and as well. That will be really good.
Yeah,
so thank you ladies for coming on the show once again. For watching Coffee Time. I'll see you next time with more stories. Till then, see you later.